Hello, thank you for joining Mental WELLth Wednesday. This is Corey Empowers, and we have a special guest with us today, Dr. Torie McDonald-Williams. Dr. Torie McDonald-Williams, and she is joining us today to have a very informative conversation about ACEs. How many of you know what ACEs are? Adverse childhood experiences. And I really appreciate the opportunity to talk with Dr. McDonald-Williams about this topic. I've learned about it some years ago at a conference I was attending in Ohio. Dr. Wendy Ellis from the Milken Institute was my first introduction to ACEs. And I'm like, oh my God, I need to learn more about that. Well, through all these years, I've dibbled and dabbled to learn a little bit more, and even created my own little acronym to show the adult version of ACEs, which is Adults Commanding Excellence. So I'm double ACEs, ACEs to ACEs. And thank you, Doctor, for joining us today. You are a dynamic professor. I want everyone to know about your transformative leadership and the coaching that you do. And you have started a foundation in which you're the CEO of Be Victorious Educational Services. You're on national tour right now with your book and just providing all kinds of mentorship opportunities and educational opportunities for people to learn more about adverse childhood experiences and how they may be impacted right now in their daily lives about it. So if you are an educator, a professional, a counselor in a mental health industry as a professional, whatever your lane is, even if you yourself have an ACE story, this conversation is for you.
Absolutely.
So without further ado, thank you for joining us today, Dr. Williams. I truly appreciate you being here.
The intro was everything. Thank you so much. Thank you
so much. Welcome. So welcome. Thank you so much for joining in. I just want to jump right in because this is educational for me. I already felt your passion before we started this program today, and I know you're going to bring it to us again through this recording and sharing. Again, just helping to amplify and provide the information to people so that they understand and know what they may be dealing with that they never knew about before. So my first question for you is, I would like for you to please, or can you tell us, what are some common types of ACEs that you have seen in your professional leadership?
I am going to say that ACEs are common. ACEs happens to 1 in 3. So if you look to your left, you look to your right, we have ACEs. And I think that's what brought my attention to it. And so what I found out was there were 2 doctors, Andrew Fleety and Dr. Robert Anda, who started a weight loss clinic. When they started their weight loss clinic, they noticed that people were coming back. And coming back was the issue because they're losing weight and they're doing their job with helping them lose weight. But why do they keep coming back? And they took their worries, and I say this because that was really the story, weight loss, to Kaiser Permanente. And from 1995 to 1997, they had their study. And in 1998, they produced the study. And that acronym was developed adverse childhood experiences. So for me, it was the awareness of it and finding out about it that made me extremely interested in wanting to learn more. So those 2 doctors brought in the second largest study in the United States. And to not know about it, or for people not to talk about it, that kind of brought me to the interest of finding out and learning more.
So weight loss and people returning, were they eating to deal with some issues? How does that connect?
Well, if you think about it, when we have issues, what do we do?
Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Exactly. And that's what happened. It's out there, you guys. The study, the information, how it came about, all of that is actually out there. That's exactly what happened. And they kept coming back. I will share a story. It happened to me. I kind of was so into it where I went to a weight loss clinic to see if I can lose my weight. And I did. I ended up losing the 20 pounds, but I also brought to their attention that stress, there's some things that, I could do to kind of help people in their transition, because they also too found people that came back. And so I was like, I think I know a little bit about it. I was learning about my, or in research mode. So using my own case study, I did a case study on myself. That's how I actually knew, like, yeah, this is real and this needs to have a more in-depth conversation for sure.
So how are ACEs categorized? Are there different areas of life?
Yes. So you have 4 different categories. They broke these categories based upon the responses that people had in the study. So you have one category of abuse and abuse. So that's physical abuse, emotional abuse, mental abuse. But as we are growing in today's society, you have anything that can fit under that abuse category. Financial abuse, you have medical abuse, you have spiritual abuse, you have different types of abuse that can fall under that category, but they focus on the physical because it's more common, the emotional, which is more common, that type of abuse. And then the second category, that's the abuse category. And then you have the neglect, and that's physical neglect, emotional neglect. There's things under the neglect category that people may not categorize, but when you think about it, it's neglect, like homelessness. Because when you think about it, but that's the reason why ACEs needs to be discussed a lot more. The category that I really, really like to discuss the most is what you call household dysfunction. And household dysfunction is a mother with an illness, an incarcerated family member, separation of parents, divorce of parents. Those are the type of things that happen in our community that we normalize and we really don't talk about as much because we think it's okay, and it's really not. The impact that it actually has, if you think about the impact of having a mother with an illness or a father with an illness, or the separation of parents and how that impact has on the kids, people don't really have that conversation or talk about that. So being a person that went through that when I was younger, that's what really also made me interested in understanding more often. My parents did separate my junior year and divorced my senior year of high school. So that's what made me say, oh yeah, I definitely am interested in it. What I did and where we're at now in 2025 is where they came up with the 4th category. So from 1998, there was people are doing research, but there hasn't been anything underlying. And in June of 2023, the CDC updated the website and added what they call other adversities. And that includes bullying, natural disasters, mass shootings. Once upon a time, mass shootings used to be like 1 every 15. And I'm saying 15 to be sarcastic, but they didn't happen. And now mass shootings are happening 1 every 3 to 7 days. So mass shootings, racial discrimination. And it's not just, we're talking about racial discrimination. We're not talking about for a certain person, women and racial discrimination, Black, Indigenous people of color and discrimination. You know what I mean? So not just for Black people, but women have been racially discriminated against for a long time. You got to remember, I've learned doing the community circles that I've done, the generations of women that I've talked to. I met a young lady that was married 65 years, and we were like, oh my God, well, that's what we want. She was like, but you got to understand, you all as women are doing things different than we did back in the day. Remember, women didn't have those rights. We did have to stay home. We did have to cook. We did have to clean. We had to do these things. And so I think that's a discussion for ACEs, because when some things changed and some laws changed and some things happened, that's when mental health actually increased tremendously for us too, with drug use.
Mm-hmm.
Because drug use is in there, you guys. Substance abuse is in there, you guys. Sexual abuse. All of that is under that abuse category that we don't talk about. You know what I mean? We're not talking about these because these are the things we normalize. It's easy to go to the store and grab a pack of beer, but alcohol abuse is ACEs. You know what I mean? So it's like, when you think about it, really, anything under that abuse category is really categorized as an adverse childhood experience. How many kids come home to their parents being intoxicated or have to see it? So these, again, are the conversations we're not having.
And witnessing domestic violence.
Exactly. Or Precious, the movie Precious. Yeah. Somebody came up with this movie, but it happens in real life.
Yes. Yes.
It happens.
So how do ACEs impact a child's ability to learn or to socialize? And how can they come out of ACEs to have a good experience in their adult life?
I think awareness is key. I'll give you another example. As a special education administrator, young man, he was in the kindergarten. He was a twin. He was referred to special education by the school. He had threatened a teacher that he would cut her neck open.
Wow.
As the administrator, the referral for special education would mean that the school wants him to go to an alternative school as a fifth grader. And I'm saying, no way, no how. Let's provide him with services under emotional health. There's something going on here. Maybe he needs to seek counseling. And as I brought that information to the parent needed to know whatever you doing at home is reflected on this kid in the school. And so honestly, I will share, I had to have the conversation with the mom, even though I'm contracted to the school, to say, hey, the school wants to send your kid to an alternative school. I had to let her know that's what they want to do to your kid. The school to prison pipeline is real. They want to send your 5-year-old, a kindergartner, to an alternative school where all the kids are K through 12. They don't want to help your kid at all. So there's something that you need to do at home. And honestly, she listened. She did. She had no other choice. She separated herself from the situation that she was in and relocated to a whole entirely different state. We knew something, but when she shared that, I said, aha, that was what it was. It was the fact that she had left her abusive relationship, moved to another state. The reaction to the kid was, dad's gone, but this is what he used to do with mom, and here we are. So you really, really, again, never know. This is the reason why, as an educator, I always keep some type of therapist, licensed social worker, or a licensed professional counselor with me, because you never know the story or the situation as to why someone has ACEs. You really don't know. I'll give you another story. Young man, 5th year in school, 5th year. I had him for first and second period. I couldn't understand why he kept coming to school at 8:32 when school started at 7:30. He came to school at 8:48. I said, Ronnie, what's up? Because this is ridiculous. I can't keep covering for you no more. He was honest. He said, I get up when the sun comes up because we don't have alarm clocks. Their cell phones were just beginning. So I'm getting up with the sun. I need to make sure my sister and brother get to school so they can get fed. His mother was in drug abuse. Drug abuse is ACEs. And a mother with an illness is ACEs. And he did what he needed to do. He took the public transportation to get to school, to get his siblings to school so they can eat. And all I did was ask a question.
Right.
So when I went to them and said, listen, You all are about to kick him out of school for something he really cannot control at all. So that's when I started going into the understanding your generational trauma discussion in chapter 2 in my book, because again, he couldn't control that. What could he do? Stay at home and watch his mom continue to use drugs and watch his siblings grow up, or take the initiative to make sure that his siblings got fed. And
Right.
he graduated from high school. He did, because there was someone there that actually supported him and what he was doing and how he could do it.
Mm.
That's the reason why the passion for understanding or addressing youth is the passion for me. But what's happening is people don't know about it, and it's an eye-opening experience, because it's like, I went through this. That's what this is. That's the name of it. Got it. If I knew that, then this wouldn't happen. It's like, yeah, sorry, but this is ACEs.
So awareness is very, very helpful in
awareness, starting very early, as early as possible. Even with being at the park and you run into a stranger and you say hi, sex trafficking, even though it's not considered an ACEs, it's high. It's very high. Those type of things. It happens. But it happens so much, Corey, because we normalize these things. They're not okay.
Not okay. And then would you say, well, if you could explain to us about ACEs and how it relates to chronic health conditions, because it seems that we can have understanding or a lack thereof regarding ACEs. If we have the understanding, we still had that experience. So it still may impact us even though we're aware. So is there a correlation with chronic?
It's been a correlation. Stress.
Mm.
Now, a lot of people believe that, and I think that's the reason why Inside Out Part 2, I love, because it shows you, anxiety is real when it really is. It's really an illness. Depression is an illness. And when people are going through, they don't know because they don't want to find out about it. It's a natural part of feeling stress response. That's the reason why our body tightens up so much. We go into, flight or all of that, honestly, you guys, is real. So that nervous system, it will stop, all because of stress. So stress and the human response, if you look up ACEs and stress, if you look up ACEs and anxiety, if you look up ACEs and depression, you will find all kinds of studies. You will. So that's the whole, issue. So yeah.
With the health conditions then, because I'm thinking like with children, say the kindergartner or the fifth grader, whichever grade they may be in, not only coming to school, not having eaten or having food once they go home, maybe not having school supplies, but frequently going to the nurse's office, or maybe some fiend symptom that they can't articulate. Have you seen that as a common situation? And what can schools do about this? It seems that schools should know about ACEs.
Well, this is what I will share. It's a part of professional development. So we get the credit for saying that we took the ACEs professional development and we check it off, and then that's it.
It's a check the box, one and done.
And that's it. And
it's so deserving of more.
Exactly. And I think that's another reason why I got into it a lot more, because there's additional steps that you can take after just doing the basic professional development. So you will be surprised the calls that I get for professional development, because people don't even know about that. Schools do, because it's a part of professional development. But after you get that professional development, that's it. That's it. There's nothing else to do after that. I got a call for a school, and I had one of my friends, because of course I could not, you can't get everywhere. It's that much of a need. And I was like, can you just please go and just do a observation at the school? And she was like, listen, you could tell the young man had his head on the table. the whole entire time. He wasn't a bad kid at all. You can tell he was borderline neurodivergent. See, as a special education administrator and someone in special education, I know that. But school that don't know anything about special education or know or even take time out to see why this young man's head is on the table.
Yeah.
So again, I think awareness. How are you? How's your day? How have you been? I haven't seen you in a couple of days. It's been 3 days. Everything okay?
Yeah.
Just asking questions. Kids will share.
And people don't have time for that. It seems.
They don't have time. They worried about themselves. Everybody's mental health is in an uproar. So that's my discussion. Again, going into schools, I got to train your staff first. You all want us to come in and train your students, but look at your staff. So let's get your staff trained and on understanding ACEs and get their mental health up to where they can teach these students and get in. So let's take yoga together. Let's do it as a community. Let's do something because we all are in a mental health uproar right now, everybody. So it's not like it's a particular person. And I think that's the issue too, where me and an example, a young lady took the test and she was like, oh my God, I took the ACEs case study that you have. I'm like, yeah, what was your score? She was like, I'm a 0. But my son, and it was like, you have ACEs though, right? Like, I have a 0. And I was like, where you stay? And she was like, oh, I stay in such and such. And I was like, and you haven't seen the community violence that is on the TV? And she was like, yeah, but that doesn't bother me. I said, baby, community violence is ACEs. But it was her. Well, I have the 0. My son has. I'm like, you should be wanting to do something about that. If you're a 0 and he has a number, why does your son have an ACEs score and you don't? So I have people that love me, but then I have people that don't like that harsh reality of understanding that your ACEs score does not define you. And even if you do have a 0, that means nothing at all. If you have been bullied before, which if you have siblings.
Yeah.
Am I right though? Like
that rivalry.
Am I right?
Well, I guess in situations with siblings fighting each other and whatnot, and just not liking each other. I mean, that is a reality from childhood to adulthood.
But we have to bring that awareness.
One is the favorite, one's not. And so just having those types of issues can, I believe, be detrimental to someone.
But that's why we're
maybe abuse level.
Exactly. But do you see how we're having this conversation? It has to be discussed. We don't want to understand that. We don't want to realize that mom is the biggest bully. We don't want to have that conversation. We don't. Or dad wanting you to be the professional football player because he wanted to, and he's pushing you. And now because you're not doing what you're doing, you've resulted to street drugs. That's 2025. Now I'm having the conversation and it's like, you shouldn't be talking about that. Yes, we should.
Absolutely. This reminds me also of like the book with Dr. Bruce Perry and Oprah Winfrey, What Happened to You?
They talk about ACEs in there.
Yeah. But as I read it, I was like, who invests this much time in anybody to find out anything about them? Unless you're in the carceral system, then it's a part of the mitigation hearing to see if there were things that happened in your past that might be able to address, the act that has caused you to be before the court. But why do you have to wait till it gets there? Right. Even what, this is making me want to advocate to have this as a part of our physical exam with the medical doctor.
And that's what we're trying.
Some of these types of questions. Yeah. Because I really appreciate it in the pediatric system, at least when my youngest son was younger, that they started asking mental health related questions. Yes. I was just so impressed with that because kids don't always come home and tell their caregiver what has happened at school and that they're being bullied or whatever. But when these questions are asked directly at the doctor, and hopefully they're being honest. It may be a way to introduce the information and do something about it before it becomes an adult issue for that person.
Yep.
So how can we help to address ACEs? How can we heal from them if we do have a score?
I want to say, honestly, Corey, once you do the awareness, it's the communication and getting your community involved, because they'll listen to you. So me having this conversation with you, they're going to listen to you because they believe you. They're going to know, wow, Corey took her time out to really have this conversation. Let me look into it. And so now you have to bring that awareness to your community. What I've been doing is going to communities and having that conversation in a community space where people feel comfortable. See, us, we don't want to have a conversation because we don't want to be ostracized. We don't want to put our business out there, or we don't want to look like the bad person, when the reality is, once you get in a room and have the conversation and break it down, then you're like, oh, I'm not alone in this journey.
Right.
What happened to you? Oh man, that did happen to me. Oh, I can't believe this. So sometimes, I'll be honest, I don't even give the ACEs quiz until I have the talk sometimes, or I break it down so people can actually understand, like, oh, okay, now I get it. Because when you do the score, it's like, well, that wasn't really me. I've had men argue me down. Well, my babysitter was 5 years older than me, but shoot, I liked it. And it's like, Jade, but, and it depends on what community you in. Think about it. In our community, you nailing the babysitter, that was extra gold points. So that's the reason why we're not having the conversation. However, when you think about it, in somebody else's community, that 5 years of age and older is not appropriate at all, especially when you are 15 to 16 years old. But when you think about it, 15 to 16 years old, in some communities, they already have kids. They have the adults that come trafficking for them quickly. But we're not having these conversations because we normalize these type of things. We be clubbing was used to be the thing. People used to go to clubs, strip clubs, all of that, and get it in. And now I have, and I will say this, a family member, and she is 24. And she like, I'm old now. She's been doing it since she was 16 years old. Her father is upset. Why are you so upset when she's making money? It's not okay. She's 24. If this is how she wants to make money from a business perspective. But at 16, so it's the dialogue, it's the conversation, and having that conversation in your respective community. So to me, that's always going to be step number 2 for me, having the conversation. Awareness, yes, but then you break it down. Last month, with a licensed practical clinical professor that I work with, we do a study together. We actually have an open study with African-American males. We do a barbershop and a beauty shop.
Yes.
And the beauty shop has a facilitator, and they go in and have their conversation as males. And the women have their beauty salon talk as females, and we sit and we have a conversation. We start off together, and then we separate and we have the conversation, and then we come back. Because that being in the room and just listening brings awareness. And then you got people that want to say stuff. They want to talk. Well, when I such and such, and then somebody else is going to spark up and say, well, when I such and such. It's the conversation and the dialogue started. So again, book for me, because that book is the opening page. I didn't wait to chapter 7 to say, well, what's the next step? Identifying your generational trauma. Chapter 2 for me. Getting to the stuff.
How is trauma different than ACEs? Are they interchangeable, or?
It's actually the experience is ACEs. So having that trauma of that experience is ACEs. So if it's divorce, that experience of divorce in its entity, all the things that happen can be traumatic for someone to go through that. So like racism, if you have been through races, situations after situation after situation, that experience is ACEs, but the trauma from it is the reason why it causes a stress in your body. So that's the reason why the awareness of ACEs is important for people to know that experience. Well, Dr. Williams, what about the childhood? If you have those experiences when you're younger and you don't identify and know them, then they become adult issues as you get older. So that's why the people keep saying, well, childhood trauma is different. No, if you don't even know about childhood trauma when you're younger, then when you get older, it's also going to have an effect on you too. That's why that experience, you need to identify and know how much of an experience it had on you. Sandy Hook was a school shooting a long time ago. Those kids are still affected. However, that experience for the kids that were in that school at that time was traumatic. So when you think about the experience, that's how trauma and ACEs are interconnected because it's the experience. So the experience is called Sandy Hook.
So it's like cause and effect.
Yep.
ACEs are the causes.
Yep.
And then the trauma is the effect.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes. And that's the reason why if you go on the CDC website, they're trying to give you more positive experiences, like invest in self-care. We don't take care of ourselves. So remember, under the neglect category, they're encouraging you to do self-care because we don't even go to the dentist.
Yeah.
So stuff like that, the not taking care of yourself can have an impact on yourself and have an impact on your body. Speaking of neglect in food, you see it all the time. Fast food isn't good for you. Going back to what I said in the beginning, that weight loss and going back and coming back. But yet, if you look at the statistics, they change every year because fast food is catching on to how bad it actually is for you in your body.
And the food is not the same anymore. I mean, in some cases, it's not even food. It's just
food. It's
made up stuff to look like it's food.
Exactly. And that is neglect on your body. So you gain weight. You know what I mean? It's like ACEs is so connected to so many things. If people would just sit and understand how much the scientific term is adverse childhood experiences, let's quit saying, oh, this is toxic. It is. But that experience alone was caused by this.
It seems like some of the experiences are unavoidable in terms of socioeconomic status and them becoming social determinants of health outcomes.
Yes.
Because as a child, for sure, you can't control where you live. And unfortunately, for a lot of families, they have very limited options in where they can live based on their income. And so how do we reconcile the fact that you're very much likely going to have ACEs if you are in a lower economic status and living under the poverty line, and the communities that are impacted by environmental injustice?
They know that. People know it, which is the reason why the CDC updated it in 2023. Because again, what they updated in 2023 are things that should have been updated or added in 1998. But in 1998, we weren't the ones that took the study. We didn't take that. It was over 17,000 people that took the study. Now, had we participated in the study, it would have been included. But we weren't going to Kaiser Permanente to take no test.
So now, when you say we, who are you referring to? Let's be clear for the audience to understand.
Black, Indigenous people of color.
So how do people determine who's going to be a part of a study? Like, what makes it a credible study?
That's a good question. When they did the study back in 1995 to 1997, I don't know how they did. However, it was open for 2 years. When you look at different studies that are happening, like even on Instagram, and say, hey, you have 2 or 3 minutes to take the study. Whereas somebody else of interest, like the Depo-Provera thing, they got this thing now where if you have, tumors in your brain, it is caused of birth control. If you're interested, click this button and let us know. We're still not clicking buttons. You know what I mean? We're just not going to do it. That's just like, and I hate to say it, voting. We're just not going to do it. And so it takes for an experience to happen for us to take advantage of what we should have known. I think that's the reason why the bullying thing is so big for me right now, because it's really happened in 2025 really bad. And I hate that politics has to play a role, but
the cyberbullying, I mean, it's leading to children actually dying by suicide.
Young children.
Unfortunate.
Yeah. So,
and I'm also thinking of like food insecurity, because it's one thing, if people are selecting a fast food restaurant, it's another thing when you don't have options in your community. You live in area food apartheid. I have learned that phrase now rather than just food insecurity.
That's why we have to
having a place to go to that's in a reasonable distance from where you live. That's an unfortunate situation as well.
You see how you went, not to say you see how you went to it now? Yeah. And we need you. You know what I mean?
It's also kind of like, it's so intentional because of how you mentioned earlier about racial discrimination, but there is clear discrimination in terms of how neighborhoods exist, how places have been zoned, how interstate highways have literally cut off predominantly Black communities from the rest of areas. And in that cutting off, it doesn't include on the Black side of town, for example, grocery stores or medical facilities or educational opportunities. And then if you have a lack of transportation, that's causing you a decreased opportunity to be able to go into the areas where those things are and that we all need. And so I appreciate the discussion about ACEs, and it just kind of also touches my heart that some children don't have a chance. We all have a chance, but in some ways it's like your chances are so
you're born
limited because of where you were born. And because of your zip code. I've seen that. Because of your zip code. The opportunities are just not there.
But that's another reason why I'm on my podcast. This Cycle Breaker series is going quite well because it's identifying people that are willing to step out of the norm and make the change. So again, me coming from Kansas City, Missouri, surprise, surprise. Cops in Kansas City used to be the show. And it was embarrassing for me growing up in Kansas City. Nobody knew about Kansas City, but you knew about Kansas City because we was on cops in Kansas City.
Aww.
But I also knew that I can survive in Chicago. Based off of everything that you just said. Everything that you just said. So when people say, you moving to Chicago? I was like, yeah. I was there every summer. I spent my summers in Chicago. Beautiful city, by the way. But yeah, with the zip code, the area. Chicago is a bigger Kansas City. Our crime and violence rate in Kansas City is worse than it is in Chicago. So I find it interesting being in Chicago, knowing seriously, and I support the mayor 100%. What he's doing, he's telling documented facts. I know for a fact for 10 years, I'll watch the crime rate go down personally as an educator for what I did. So knowing that and knowing that Kansas City number is higher than Chicago, and seeing a president bully a city. Yeah, I want to talk about ACEs. I want to have a conversation. We got to make it relatable for where people don't understand. We're going back into time where racial discrimination, the young man that got hung. Oh, he wasn't hung. It was a noose. It was in Mississippi. Y'all didn't know you still can't go in Mississippi late at night in certain areas. You just said it. That you know that's like certain things you cannot do. Just like in Texas. Remember, we didn't get emancipated until
2 years later, yeah.
And moving here to Texas, I was like, my God, y'all racist out here for real. And it's like, yeah. And I heard this from a white man. He was like, absolutely. Ever since 45 came back, white people came out of their shell. I'm like, wow, I heard this from a white man. And that was before the president got back into office. That was 45. And think about it, we have 46, and now he is here back in 47. So
I'm very alarmed at the marches in my home state, because just certain symbols create fear and uncertainty and discomfort. So seeing certain flags, seeing certain images are very alarming. And if children are growing up seeing certain things, once they become adults, they can see those things again and still have that fear. So what are we able to do about that? I saw a post on your Instagram. Is that learning about ACEs can help you do things differently in your life. There was a video of someone talking about ACEs, and she indicated that learning about ACEs can help you do things differently in your life. And my question to you is, how can they help us to do things differently in our lives?
Resiliency. You have to practice it. You just can't talk about it. You actually have to do it. Setting the tone, setting the example, not just in your life professionally, but in your life personally. Educating yourself on exactly what it is, the underlying factor, the matter. How can you address it? Being in those relationships that you know you're not supposed to be in, you have to take the initiative. You have to take the steps. You have to do what you have to do. If you know that there's a lot of drug use and they need help, don't just let them. Help them. Give them numbers. Give them information. 988 is a real number. You get a text message saying, hey, I think this is really what I want to do. I want to in my life. Don't say okay. Because we do. How many episodes or situations have we heard when kids say that that's what they say they're going to do? And then you hear the story of them being found in closets. Because every suicide prevention or a suicide attempt is really a cry for help. And that's not me saying that. That's statistics that have said that. You know what I mean? When you talk to suicide survivors that share their story, it wasn't their turn. Obviously, God allowed them to be here. But to hear their story, like, this is what I did. I cut myself a couple of times, and it's like, well, why didn't you say anything? Listen, when people are in the space that they're in to where they want to do these things, you can talk to them. You can do those things. But when I tell you, when you're in a situation, again, understanding that depression and anxiety is an illness, that's educating yourself. That's understanding that you need the help. We don't think we need help. We don't think we need therapy. We don't think we need somebody to talk to. We have issues, and we just have issues. We take that out on our children. We take that out on our coworkers. We take that out. This is what we do. So it really starts with understanding for yourself. You have to understand what ACEs are. You have to understand that you have that score. You have to take the necessary steps. You have to be the one that's responsible. And as a cycle breaker, you got to know that it ends with you. It ends with me. I'm a cycle breaker. I love it. I have to be. I am a culture changer. I have to, because I don't want people to experience what I experienced. I don't want people to go through that. That's
Right.
why I became a mentor. I am a first generation high school graduate. So it started with me when I was 17 years old. Oh, if I can graduate from college, you can too. And coming from a city again where people weren't graduating at the time, a lot of my friends did not graduate from high school. A lot of my friends did not go to college, but there has to be someone that has. So accepting that cycle breaker role, being that transformational leader, transitioning from high school to college to getting my doctorate degree, let the community know, oh, you can do it. You have to be the one to do it. How did you do it, Torie? You have to be willing to commit to the steps first within yourself to know that this happened to you. It's not you. Don't take ownership and accountability of the things that happened to you. You were abused. It wasn't your fault that you were abused. It wasn't your fault. Some of the things that happened to you, love my parents, I do. But after finding out their stories, I couldn't hold them accountable for things that happened to them. And that was the reason why I used them in my book as an example. My dad was 16 when he went to the military. Your brain ain't even built all the way.
Right.
So
wow, that's young.
PTSD, he don't believe me to this day. And I love my father. I do. He has been baptized 4 times because that's what he thinks is the right thing to do, when reality, we in our community don't want to go to counseling. We don't want to talk to people. We go to counseling now and we lie just to make it sound good and look good and not really do it for what we're supposed to do it for. So that's why the community circles work for me. That's the reason why extracurricular activity, I've seen it, it put those kids and get them busy. If you don't want to do it as a parent, you're the problem. And I'm going to say it, because 9 times out of 10, trust me when I say it's keeping them occupied and busy. If you have them at home, they're going to hear the arguments. They're going to be a part of the discussions. They're going to be the gamers and cyberbullying because they're sitting at home. Like, there are things that we can do. Ownership and accountability is everything. So I answer the question, and I know I answered this question good. It starts with you. Self-care is the best care. You have to understand that you have ACEs, you have an ACEs score, and it ends with you.
I like that. I like that. So you have mentioned your book a couple of times during this interview. I would love for you, as we close out, to tell us about your book and other projects that you are working on right now, and where can people find you to follow you and learn more about ACEs?
The reason why I did it's time to talk about ACEs, because I think it's time. I think this is the perfect time in the situation that we're in now. We're in a society where we're having conversations, but we're not having the right conversations. And so me being in education and talking about it all the time, I just got this wonderful idea. You already have the book. The book is out there. Nobody's going to watch your dissertation or listen to your dissertation or share your dissertation because they don't want to. I mean, who cares? Not to say it like that, but who cares? You got to think about it.
And I think dissertation, that sounds scary. That's like intimidating. Like, oh my gosh, you did like 5,000 pages. Like,
I'm like, nobody want to hear that. But I made my dissertation relatable to where people could understand it and break it down that way. So talking about the study that I did in a school, in a city, that talking about my parents. My mom was 16 when she had a baby. My dad was lost his mother. It's called trauma bonding. I love them to death. But you don't think about that. And I didn't have that clue when I was growing up. But when you think about it now, 16, And when they divorced, I was like, thank the Lord, because I knew that they should not have been together in the first place. But again, that's through my awareness of ACEs. When I was a kid, I held my own self accountable for their divorce because
well, you blamed yourself.
Of course.
You weren't accountable for it.
Depends on the situation. And not to say it like that,
we'll
but
have another show.
Yeah, you know what I mean? That's another show. And that's their story. But again, I mean, growing up in the 90s, you know, kids were put in situations where we knew about some things and we couldn't say or share or talk or do. And we got other siblings and we got cousins and nephews and brothers and sisters from other places.
Family secrets and all of those
things. Yeah. So again, I just gave it a relatable discussion and then turned it into, this is the next step. So what did you do, Dr. Torie? I went back to school and did some research and found out exactly what it was. And then this is the steps that you need to take in order to establish this and do this in your community. So I really break it down step by step. I even have what we call workshop. ACEs 101 breaks down your ACEs score. But even in the book, I have workshops and trainings for each chapter in the book because it's relatable, not just for schools, but for organizations, again, not for profits. It's personal and it's professional development.
Okay. And so what are some of your other projects? You have the international conference, you do a conference. And
so all of this
conference for ACEs.
What I honestly like doing is helping others bring awareness. So this is where the Lord has placed me. When I went on the book launch, it was to bring awareness. I wanted to go to the places where I knew it was needed. So of course, Chicago was my first stop. Chicago rolled out the red carpet. It was great. I went to Kansas City, very disappointed. I always, when I share, very disappointed because I represent Kansas City like it's my own. It still is. I love it. But remember, this is a city that normalizes ACEs. You know what I mean? Like they normalize community violence. They normalize bullying. They normalize shootings. You know what I mean? They normalize the abuse. So
don't know any other way of life.
Yeah. You see what I'm saying? So it's like, that means you got more work to do in that city. And then Dallas, open arms, of course. But then again, the discussion that you had in regards to the different zip codes, Dallas is just as separated as everything else. Oak Cliff is Oak Cliff in Chicago. I mean, in Dallas. However, Plano is Plano, and they're two different places. Fort Worth is different than Dallas, you know, so it's like, yeah, that does play. And with the international conference, I always shared that it was an international issue. I'm a researcher, and so doing research, I went and found researchers that were also researching and educators that identify with ACEs, and we formed a pact. I had a podcast, and I actually invited the people that I found first on the podcast based off of their books and them sharing their story. So it was like, you use me, kind of, sort of. I am a researcher.
The podcast is called Cycle Breakers?
The podcast is called Be Victorious because it shows people who, you know, they share their stories, but they share how they're healing. Some of the things that they're doing, how they're healing. It's coaches, it's therapists, it's educators, it is entrepreneurs, it is authors, it is all kind of people that are sharing their story. They're not hiding their ACEs score. They're telling what they're doing. And so I think you got young people. My daughters, I have two daughters that have done it. My youngest daughter just turned 13, and then my firstborn that has done it. She did it when she was 15 or 16. So to do it 3 or 4 years later, she wanted the world to see how cycle breaking looked like from her perspective. And I loved it, loved it, because it also shows that I'm doing this professionally, but again, also that personal aspect comes in, and people want to see when you're in these type of positions, how it's working. And this is how cycle breaking is working for me. I'm living it. So that's another reason why people are like, oh, so it really does work. Yeah, I can't make it up. You know what I mean? I wouldn't put anything out there that you couldn't use or access as a tool to help yourself heal, for sure.
Well, that is wonderful to just have ways out.
Mhm.
That
Yes.
ways of having a way out of no way, or
Yes.
Lord making a way out of no way. But when we know about resources that are available throughout the country, internationally, in
Yes.
our own community, it can be very, very helpful. And just taking note of some of the things you mentioned today, as far as ACEs and what we can do, but just the awareness, and
Yes.
then the communication,
Yes.
education, and knowing about resources.
Yes.
What would you share as maybe your top 3 go-to resources for people who want to know more? I would say one of them is like following you. So how do we follow you, and where do we go?
BeVictorious.com has
Victorious.com.
everything. We are in the process of actually coming up with a database of people that are aware of ACEs, that talk about ACEs, that discuss it in their specialty, so people can use that as a reference. So when we did the ACEs Awareness Conference, it was a wonderful event. There
Mm,
were so many powerful people in the room that took their respective everything that they learned out in their community. So say, for example, there's a young lady who stepped out on faith like I did. I don't hide the fact that I stepped out on faith, and I thank the Lord so much for having this opportunity as an entrepreneur to really build and grow. She stepped out on faith, and she uses ACEs as the introduction of HR practices.
mm,
Think about it. That's a good tool that ACEs study for someone that is building their job, their database, their employees. And she implemented, she put it in as a part of her HR training in workforce as she works to train other people. So adding
mm.
that training, or that ACEs training, or that ACEs awareness to anything, even attorneys, come on, come on. That introduction, because again, you got to know who you're dealing with. That's the reason why you have the attorneys and it's different specialties for
Mhm.
attorneys. You got the criminal, you got the litigation, you have the different kinds.
Different practice areas.
Yep.
Mhm.
It'd be good to have that intake as the intake. So you can definitely find me at BeVictorious.com. My second reference is always going to be my podcast. Look at the podcast. Everything is on it's Be Victorious Educational Services. So me, number one. Number two, I'm always going to say as a reference, the American Psychological Association
Mhm.
and CDC.gov. CDC.gov, if you go to CDC.gov, you will find a plethora of ACEs information. So you don't need me. It's there. You can have this conversation too. You can share this information. Plenty of people have ACEs studies out there. They have the ACEs quiz as a reference. But the CDC.gov, and that's where I got permission to do everything that I'm doing now. I got the permission from the CDC.gov.
Mm.
So
Okay.
I'm going to just reference those three, especially the American Psychological Association. There are different, like NAMI, the National Advancement of Mental. There's so
National Alliance on Mental Illness. Yes, that's my
yes,
go-to.
yes.
Yes.
There's so
Mental Health America. I know they have a lot of surveys.
yes.
I don't know. I think ACEs may be one of the assessments that they have on
I
their.
haven't seen it, but I know depending on NAMI, because NAMI, depending on where they're at, some people, some chapters of NAMI support ACEs and some don't.
Okay.
And so it depends. I will tell you a few people that I know that have been on the podcast that are representation. They are representatives. They advocate for NAMI, or they advocate for different ones. So that's the reason why on my website you'll see, well, you will get, because we're in the process of building that right now, a hub where people can say, hey, I'm looking for a doctor that does this,
Mhm,
this.
mhm.
Well, here's this doctor. This doctor knows about ACEs. You can have that conversation. Or this therapist actually talks about grief and
Mm.
ACEs. Have that conversation with that person. Or this person talks about sexual abuse and ACEs. Have that conversation, because it's in a year, and I'm so blessed. It has grown huge. So I will share that first weekend, the April 10th through the 12th will be the second International Awareness Conference here in Dallas.
Okay. That is wonderful. Congratulations.
Everywhere. There's something in Towson, Maryland. Is called All About Aces It's Time. That's in Tulsa, Maryland in November. Every month is something for me. So just continue to pray for me, because again, it's getting to where this training of people on ACEs, you go ahead and take advantage of it, because that's how serious it is. People are actually using it to train others as well.
Well, it's a very important aspect of our lives to understand and know it. I'm sure, I don't know the statistics, but thousands, if not millions of children are impacted, and it's great to have the information. I think that educators are in the prime position to be the ones to know more about it, identify it, and to help students. Yep. I'm so grateful for all the educators in my life who helped me to navigate, because I went to like 14 different schools. By the time I went to my sophomore year, I was at my 14th school, having moved at least 21 times before I got to my sophomore year in high school. Laughing, not that it was funny, but that's my defense mechanism. But it's just interesting that there are so many children that have different experiences in being transient, food insecurity, all the things, and to have educators who are educated on ACEs would be so helpful in helping the children to know that there are opportunities available to them. And I always take the opportunity when I speak, especially to educators, to be that voice that helps to excel a child, help a child to excel, not to be the one who tells them that they can't do something because of their background, because you have those people too, unfortunately. So use your voice in a positive way. Use your voice in a way that can help uplift others, especially children, because they may not get that from anywhere else. They don't know anything outside of their community where there may be that violence that you grew up with, or food insecurity. And I say that because I know that my experiences, not that it was my whole childhood, but it was enough that it impacted me in my adult life in terms of food insecurity. So I just truly appreciate you coming.
I appreciate you. You have to continue to tell that story, because I believe you me, when you walk into your speaking engagements or walk into a room, you already empowered a room. But if you let them know that you were someone that went to 12 different schools,
that's what #driven is all about.
Let's go.
My focus is severe mental illness, because a lot of people don't know that it's real. They blow it off as drug abuse or alcoholism or wanting attention, and it is so much more than that. And again, children are in the position of needing to know signs so that they may be the ones who get the help. Like me, I was like 13 or 14 years old when I didn't know what to do. And so children are important, and we have to invest in them in any way that we can, help to uplift them and encourage them, because this world is a scary place. It is. And, again, I appreciate you for all the work you're doing in educating us, increasing awareness about adverse childhood experiences. And I wish you the best on your book tour and all the conferences to help you in helping others. So thank you for your time, Dr.
God bless you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.